When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Hello and welcome to History For Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Weirdos, welcome back to another episode of History for Weirdos.
Yay!
And I just want to say, first of all, thank you guys so much for listening to Historical Mysteries July.
Yes.
Stephanie and I both had an absolute blast recording those episodes. And a huge thank you to Felicia for doing the deep dive research.
Yeah.
Because without her help, this would have been much, much harder.
Yeah.
And I know we had a blast recording them, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to them.
This month is theme free, but we will have themed months, of course, in the future. And we give priority to our patrons for picking those out. So if you want to join the Patreon, you can go ahead and do so in the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. I highly suggest it, but I could be a little bit biased.
Perhaps, yeah.
Perhaps, yes.
Also, if we sound any different today, we're actually recording at Spotify.
Yes, we are in downtown Los Angeles recording at Spotify Studios. So a huge thank you to Spotify for making this happen.
Oh, thank you guys so much. We have had some technical issues at home.
Yes.
And our amazing contacts at Spotify, Johnny and Travis, really came in clutch. And here we are. And that's why we're able to record and sound so nice for you all.
Yes. Guys, I'm not joking. I bought a new computer specifically for the podcast, and I've had more trouble with the new computer than my old computer.
Yeah. It's been bad.
It's been so bad. I'm like, guys, I did so much research into the specs behind it, and it's just been such a nightmare.
Yeah, but we think we found a solution moving forward. But, we're not going to complain about being in this beautiful studio.
Exactly. I love being here. I love having everything just set up for me.
Yeah, and there's snacks outside. Did you see the snacks?
I did see the snacks.
That's important.
See, guys, Stephanie is always interested in the things that really, truly matter. Snacks.
There were Cheez-Its. I think there were fruit snacks.
Mother of God. Okay, enough of this. Stephanie, without further ado, what's going on? What's your story about this week?
So today we will discuss the life and legacy of Jim Thorpe, who many consider to be the greatest athlete of all time.
Yeah, I could get behind that. I mean, he's incredible. He was an enigma of his era. Yeah,
we will see if by the end of the episode, weirdos, if you agree, you'll let us know if you think he's the greatest athlete of all time.
Yes, and he was also very good friends with a subject of a past episode we have done.
We don't know if they were very good friends, but they were definitely friends. We weren't privy to their conversations.
That's true. I think I might have oversold that a little bit. No, they were definitely friends. Maybe not best friends, but they were at least friends. And that was Duke Kahanamoku.
Yeah, they both were legends even in their own time.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to get into the beginning of Jim Thorpe's life. So James Francis Thorpe, or Wa Thok Hook in Fox, was born either May 22nd or May 28th, 1887. His native name translates to bright path, and it seems like he was destined to have a name like that and fulfill that legacy because he definitely has a bright path ahead of him. And the reason that I gave 2 different birthdays is because the details vary. Jim Thorpe himself claimed to have been born on the 28th in Shawnee, Oklahoma. But then sources have found that in a 1943 newspaper article, his baptism records with the Catholic Church list May 22nd as his birthday. So, and they list actually the location as Prague, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. So very conflicting reports here.
So he was born somewhere between the 22nd and the 28th of May, somewhere in Oklahoma.
Okay, fair enough. I guess not very conflicting, slightly conflicting reports here. But we all know it was May of, what was that year?
1887.
1887, okay.
Today, generally speaking, the birthplace for Jim Thorpe is recognized as Prague, Oklahoma.
Okay. So kind of like Brazil, Indiana.
Exactly. Thorpe was born in Native American territory to an Irish-American father and a Sac and Fox mother. His mother, Charlotte Vieux, was descended from Sac and Fox chief Louis Vieux, who had been a respected businessman and a leader within the Native community, along with just a general leader of his larger community. And it's also believed that through his mom's line, Jim Thorpe was a descendant of a very legendary war chief named Black Hawk.
Oh my God, he could have an episode in his own right.
I thought that too. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's such a good episode idea. Black Hawk.
Okay, that's definitely going on the list.
Yes. So Thorpe was raised Roman Catholic and attended the Sac and Fox Indian Agency School in Stroud, Oklahoma, with his twin brother, Charlie. And you may be thinking, wow, I didn't know that Jim Thorpe had a twin brother. Oh, no. That is because, unfortunately, Charlie Thorpe did pass away from pneumonia when the boys were only 9 years old.
Oh my God. I knew something bad was going to happen, but geez Louise.
I know. So after this traumatic loss, Thorpe really struggled in school. He ran away several times, and his dad was not dealing with it well. And he sent him to attend the Haskell Institute, a boarding school for Native Americans in Lawrence, Kansas. As we've talked about before on the show, the history of boarding schools for Native American kids in the United States and in Canada is a very dark history. I actually didn't look into this school further, so I'm not sure if this would fall under that. But even in the best circumstances, I'm sure that was really painful to lose your twin and then be sent away.
So at the very least, we can assume that he had probably an adverse experience, like going into this boarding school.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. When Thorpe's mom dies just 2 years later...
Oh my God.
She dies in childbirth, unfortunately. The relationship with his dad gets really bad from there. And they struggle. They fight back and forth for many years. And when he's about 16... I think, yeah. When he's 16 in 1904, Jim Thorpe leaves home. He goes to work on a horse ranch. And we don't know why, but he does eventually come back to his dad. And he agrees to attend the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And this is where his athletic career will begin.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good sign. I also just want to mention, too, whenever I look at pictures of Jim Thorpe, there's a certain stoic sadness in his face.
Yeah, you think so?
In all the pictures, yeah. And I wonder if it maybe comes from his childhood.
Having such a hard life at the beginning.
I mean, I don't envy it even remotely.
Yeah. He's been through a lot. And unfortunately, we will see later on, his life does continue to have a lot of pain and struggles. But I think that's also part of why he becomes such a symbol of resilience to many people.
Yeah, I could see that.
So the legend of how Jim's athletic career began says that he was just walking by the track at the Carlisle school, still in slacks and just like his regular street clothes. And he sees these guys doing the high jump. And he's like, I want to try that too. So he just like walks over and is like, can I try? And they're like, sure. And he jumps an impressive 5 feet and 9 inches, beating out all the high jumpers.
In slacks.
In slacks.
Okay, and I'm not sure if the high jump that we think of as the high jump existed at this point.
It's 1907.
So I don't think so. I think they did what was called the scissor kick.
Perhaps.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You almost jump in the air and you like kick one foot up, then the other foot, and it looks like you're doing like a scissor motion.
Really interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen that. We'll see if we can find pictures of it.
I vaguely remember that from like high school track.
Yeah? Did you have to do it?
No. It was like a coach did it. He's like, oh, this is like the old school way, like how back in the day they used to do it.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering if that was the method that they used at the time.
Let me see if I can look that up really quick.
Yeah, I'm really curious.
Well, I have my computer here. High jump. I'm going to look up high jump in 1907 and see what comes up under images.
I know this would be the perfect time to have like an in-house like producer guy that could be like, hey,
here it is.
Look at this up. Yeah, I think is
that a scissor kick?
That's the scissor kick. Yeah, that is not like the high jump that we have today.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
I wasn't aware, so thank you for sharing that.
You got it.
So, as we can imagine, this is a big sign that he is exceptional as an athlete. He was untrained and he was able to beat out all the other trained high jumpers. So his speed and agility catch the eye of a legendary coach named Pop Warner, a leading sort of football coach.
I think I've heard of Pop Warner before. I've heard of Pop Warner.
And Pop is known as one of the most influential coaches in early American football history. It's also at the Carlisle School that Jim Thorpe will meet his, spoiler, first wife.
I had a feeling this was coming.
Iva Miller, with whom he will eventually have 4 children with. James, Gail, Grace, and Charlotte.
Ooh, very nice.
Unfortunately, Thorpe would have to return home for a while after only a year of school because his dad passes away from complications of gangrene after a hunting accident. So he works on the farm for a while before returning and going back to school to continue his education and his athletic training. Thorpe's college football career after this was nothing short of remarkable. He led the Carlisle Indians to national prominence, scoring numerous touchdowns and securing victories against top teams like Harvard and West Point.
Wow. And this is before the NFL as well. So
correct.
Like that's incredible.
This is what football is, basically.
Yeah, it's college football is the elite level at this point.
So in the game against West Point, Jim scored a 92-yard touchdown.
That's insane, even by today's standards.
And then it was called back for a penalty. So the second time around, he rushed a touchdown for 97 yards in the next play.
That's so incredible. They were just like, no, you're doing this again, buddy.
And he's like, okay, I'll do it even better.
Isn't that amazing?
Wild to me. What's interesting about that specific game is one of his West Point opponents was Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh my God, shut up.
Very interesting, right?
So he just he very well could have bulldozed a future president.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
During a speech that Eisenhower would later give to the Republican National Committee, he actually references Jim Thorpe, and he has this to say, quote, "Here and there are some people who are supremely endowed. My memory goes back to Jim Thorpe. He never practiced in his life, and he could do anything better than any other football player I ever saw. If we have any of those geniuses around here, they don't have to work, but all the rest of us do." End quote.
Yeah, and if you're thinking you're one of those geniuses, most likely you're probably not.
Exactly.
Like I'm not one of those people.
So very complimentary words from Eisenhower. And now we're going to go a little bit forward to 1912 when Thorpe began focusing on competing in the Olympics.
Oh my gosh, that's slightly topical, isn't it?
Exactly. That may be why I picked it. Do you have a favorite Olympic sport that you like to watch?
I mean, like Summer Olympics, there's I mean, you have basketball, right? Like
you like to watch that one?
I do actually like to watch that one.
Because you like to watch the U.S.
just a steamroll. Yeah. I mean, they're not doing as hot as they have been doing the last few Olympics, this Olympics, but generally speaking, yeah, that is kind of cool. But also just like the random sports like archery and like shooting. That one Turkish guy just got silver and he just showed up without even like trying. Everyone else has these like special goggles on and he's just like in like slacks and a t-shirt and he's just like, kind of winging it. Silver.
He's the Jim Thorpe of shooting, maybe.
Maybe. Jim Thorpe would have been gold.
Yeah, that's true. So Thorpe began Olympic training, obviously, in the spring, and his tryouts later that year earned him a spot on the U.S. track and field team that was headed to Stockholm.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm included 2 new track and field events. The pentathlon, thank you, and the decathlon.
Okay.
So those were brand new to the Olympics. And Thorpe was so versatile in his strengths that he served as a one-man team in several of those meets.
No big deal.
I can't even imagine.
Also, I don't even think they would allow that today.
Probably not. So like instead of passing the baton, he just kept running.
I remember like when we were talking about the 1912 Olympics with Duke Kahanamoku, I know it just seemed like it wasn't really well organized like today's Olympics are. It was just kind of like a crapshoot.
It was definitely a lot less formalized for sure. It seems like it was more like, yeah, you show up and you do what you got to do. Today, obviously, it's almost like a science, I think. That
it is.
They have everything down to in terms of logistics, all the way to the way the athletes train is very, very advanced. So we're looking at a kind of a different era of the Olympics here. Yeah,
not as different as like, what do you say, archaic Greece or classical Greece, but still different nonetheless.
Still different nonetheless. So Jim Thorpe won 4 of the 5 events for the pentathlon, including placing 3rd in the javelin throw, an event that he had never tried before.
Okay, come on. Like,
How does he do it? It's like Eisenhower said, like he never had to practice a day in his life, but the rest of us do.
This guy has like a God-given talent.
It's insane. I wish I was that good at anything.
That's what I've said. I've literally said the same thing about your mom and cooking. Like she's low-key a little bit like a Jim Thorpe when it comes to cooking.
It's crazy. We go to a restaurant. I'm like, oh, I really like this dish. She's like, let me try it. She takes one bite and then the next time I see her, she's made it for me at home, but it's better somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in a way, she's ruined Mexican food for me because
it's the best.
Whenever I go to a Mexican restaurant, like it could be good. It could even be really good. It's not as good as your mom's, though.
Yeah, I know. That's probably why we usually don't get Mexican, actually.
Yeah.
We'd rather just go to my mom's.
Exactly.
We'll tell her next time we see her, she's the Jim Thorpe of cooking. Yeah. And she will not understand the reference.
She doesn't even listen to the podcast. And we're like, look at it. We're giving her so many compliments. She won't even hear it unless we tell her.
And even then she'll be like, oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And not listen to it. Well, sorry, getting back to Thorpe because I wasn't done with his achievements here. So he wins the javelin or gets 3rd place, even though he'd never tried it before. And he wins the gold for the pentathlon.
Like, how?
Crazy. On the day of the decathlon, Thorpe woke up to some bad news.
Oh my God, what?
Someone stole his shoes while he was sleeping.
Oh, yes, this. This is infamous.
They steal his shoes. Obviously, they probably saw him in the prior events and were like, oh, this guy's so good. I want to sabotage him. And he doesn't have time to go out and get a new pair because we're used to very convenient things like, oh, go to Target or go to like the mall, to the Nike store. They don't have that at this point. So he has to go digging through the trash to find if there are any shoes in there. And he does find a pair that fits him, but they are mismatched shoes. They're not even of the same pair of shoes.
Oh
and he
God.
has to win those wear those to compete in the Olympics. And he does win gold.
Like, that's iconic. That is icon behavior right there.
Right? I agree. The level of impressiveness that this man will continue to have throughout the episode is just crazy.
I'm kind of just, I don't know what to say.
He's kind of like a little bit of a superhero.
He kind of is.
Yeah. He actually became the first Native American to secure an Olympic gold medal for the United States.
And he did like many many times over.
Isn't that huge?
That's huge, man.
Imagine for the Native community how incredible that felt.
Right.
Well, during the closing ceremonies, when athletes were awarded their medals, in addition to the 2 gold medals that he earned, Thorpe was awarded 2 additional challenge prizes. One for the pentathlon from Russian Tsar Nicholas II.
I've heard of him.
Our research assistant Felicia put, "Oh, snap," next to his name because we last spoke about him during the episode on Anastasia Romanoff.
Yes.
And then he also won another special prize for the decathlon from King Gustav V of Sweden. So Tsar Nicholas II presents Thorpe with a jeweled chalice. That's his prize.
That's so cool. I want a jeweled chalice.
And then King Gustav presents him with a bronze bust. And when King Gustav gives him the award, he said to Jim that he was, quote, the greatest athlete in the world. And it's said that Jim Thorpe, reportedly very humble, responded, "Thanks, King."
No. He said, that's...
How American, too, to just be like, "Thanks, King."
I know, and it's funny because like that vernacular exists today, but like not in the same way. Where you're like, "Oh, go off, King," or like, "Thanks, King," you know?
Yeah.
Or if you're a history nerd, a Roman history nerd, you might call him Rex. Or if you're a Greek history nerd, Basileus, you know?
Of course.
Of course.
I just love that exchange. You are the greatest athlete in the world.
Thanks, King.
So sweet, so
I love this
pure.
guy. I love him.
So after the Olympics, Thorpe goes back to the U.S. He goes to New York, where he competes in another event. It's called the Amateur Athletic Union's All-Around Championship, and he won 7 out of 10 events.
It's a mouthful.
He placed second in the remaining 3, so he's dominated all 10, and he scored 7,476 points, breaking the previous record of 7,385 points. The previous record was set by a 5-time Olympic gold medalist. He's an Irish-American athlete named Martin Sheridan.
Wow. And so this guy, Jim Thorpe, he just shows up without practicing and he sets the new record.
Yeah, he sets the new record. Sheridan, who was present when Thorpe broke his record, said to him, "Jim, my boy, you're a great man. I never expect to look upon a finer athlete."
Okay, so he's getting props not only from heads of state at this point, but also fellow like iconic athletes at the time.
Prior to Jim Thorpe making it onto the scene of like public sports, Martin Sheridan was considered the best athlete in the world.
So he's kind of passing the torch.
He's passing the torch. And I said Irish-American because he truly was Irish-American in that he was born in Ireland but raised in the U.S. He immigrated at a very young age and chose to compete for the U.S. in the Olympics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So later, when talking about the event with a reporter from the New York World, Sheridan also had comments to say about Jim Thorpe, and he said that, quote, "He was the greatest athlete that ever lived. He has me beaten 50 ways. Even when I was in my prime, I could not do what he did today."
Wow. That's really high praise.
So cool.
Again, from someone who really knows what he's talking about as well.
To get praise from not even a peer, but probably someone that you looked up to like that. Ugh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
However.
Uh-oh.
There's always a however.
There's always a however.
Thorpe's Olympic glory is short-lived.
No. Okay.
In 1913, he's stripped of his medals because it's revealed that he had at one time played semi-professional baseball before the Olympics, which was a violation of the amateurism rules.
That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard.
The decision sparked a lot of controversy, with many believing it was racial prejudice because a lot of Thorpe's peers had also played semi-professional sports, but they didn't get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that typically what people did if they wanted to compete in the Olympics was they would just put a fake name when they were playing for money. And Thorpe didn't. He used his real name when he was playing semi-professional baseball, but he didn't even compete in baseball at the Olympics. It's a completely different sport where he truly was an amateur.
Oh, yeah. They were just using that to get him.
To take it away from him, right?
That was politically or racially motivated.
Absolutely.
That was not like, oh, he's skirting the rules. Let's fine him or whatever. That was like, let's look for something to get him.
Let's look for, they definitely went digging for that.
Yeah.
And to strip him completely of the wins is insane.
Do you know what's crazy? Some variant of this rule lasted all the way to the 1992 Olympics.
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah, so like the way the Soviet Union went around this rule, which was actually pretty ingenious, is everyone was just part of the Red Army.
Yep.
Like you
So
could
it's not
train.
a professional athlete, it's like the military.
They're a soldier, but yeah, they're not doing any soldiering. They're in like, if they're a gymnast, they're in the gymnastics gym or whatever for like.
They're the gymnastics squad
Yeah,
of
exactly.
the military.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're not drilling with like rifles or anything. They're drilling in the gym.
Because every good military needs a gymnastics team.
Exactly. They also need a good basketball team, a water polo team, you know?
As I mentioned earlier, when he was getting praise from King Gustav, Thorpe was known for being really humble and being pretty reserved in nature. So he didn't fight back for the medals. He once told his daughter, Grace Thorpe, when she asked why, he said, quote, "I won them, and I know I won them."
Man, again, that's a winner mindset right there.
Yeah.
He won them. He's not letting it affect him.
Yeah. Didn't affect the way he saw himself or his pride. It was very, very inspiring to hear that. Like, I think so often we do things out of the desire for the external validation. And I think when it came to sports, he really did things because he loved it and he wanted to see if he could do it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and again, it kind of goes back to his stoic behavior in his pictures. He just looks so like he really is a master of his own emotions.
Yes. You could definitely see that here.
Yeah.
So despite this setback, he doesn't give up. In fact, he continues on with his athletic career. He's like, you know what? Now I'm going to go play professional baseball.
Yeah. I don't need to play semi-professional. I'm just going to pros.
Going to the pros, he played for the New York Giants, not the football team. That was a baseball team.
Yeah, they're now the San Francisco Giants.
The Cincinnati Reds, the Boston Braves. Very unfortunate that those are such racist team names.
Oh my God.
Very unfortunate.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Both of those have changed, thankfully. And he was really showcasing his versatility as a baseball player. He could pretty much dominate any position in baseball. In 1915, he transitioned to professional football because he got bored. With baseball, he was so good. He's like, oh, I'm too good.
Yeah, that's how I know him as a football player.
Yeah. So he joined the Canton Bulldogs and was able to lead them to multiple championships. And during this time, he gets divorced from his first wife that I mentioned earlier, Iva Miller. So Thorpe's football career extends beyond playing. In 1920, he became the first president of the American Professional Football Association.
Oh my God, which still exists to this day, I believe, right?
It later became the NFL.
Okay. Yeah, but the Players Association, that the labor union, the union, I should say, that still exists.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he's the president. And so he is considered today, people say he's like the first president of the NFL because it was the precursor. He also organized and played for the Oorang Indians team. This is an all Native American football team.
Whoa.
Which I'd never heard of before.
I had never heard about that either.
It was really cool. His contributions to football earned him a place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. And during his football career, he does marry 2 more times.
That's my boy.
He marries Frida Verona Kirkpatrick. She was his baseball team manager. That's how he met her.
Oh.
And they have 4 sons together, Philip, William, Richard, and John. And
so
then,
wait a minute. At this point, he has, 7 kids? Because he has 3 with his first wife and then 4 with his second?
I think 8. He has 4 and 4.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man's got bills to pay.
Dude, yeah, he's like Mark Antony, busy guy.
Yeah, busy guy. And then they eventually divorce, and he marries a woman named Patricia Gladys Askew in 1945. To my knowledge, they don't have children together.
Okay.
So now we're going to look at his life post-athletics. So it's a challenging one for him, as you can imagine, dedicating so much of your life to this thing that you're very passionate about and that you're so good at. Despite his ability to perform well in such a variety of sports, he ages out, right? He ages out of being a professional athlete, and then he struggles to find steady employment during the Great Depression. As we know, the Great Depression made finding and keeping a job difficult for so many families. So because of this, Jim was like, I'll take whatever I can get. And he worked as an extra in a lot of Western films, typically cast in kind of more stereotypical roles for someone of Native American heritage. He did, however, get to play himself in the 1932 comedy called Always Kickin'.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he played a football coach. He was a football coach teaching young players how to do a drop kick, which is so cute. Then
we gotta watch that.
Yeah, we should. That would be really sweet.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never exactly what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye to your overpriced wireless plan's jaw-dropping monthly bills and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Pretty good deal. So to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/HFW. That's mintmobile.com/HFW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/HFW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
In 1931, Thorpe actually sold the rights to his life story to MGM for $1,500.
No. Oh, God. I want to go back in time and be like, no. You get a cash payment up front. You get royalties on the back end. You do not one lump payment. Like, your story is incredible, bro. Let me take care of it for you, actually.
And some of you might be thinking, oh, well, that must be a lot of money today. It really isn't. In today's dollar, it's $30,000.
Oh.
For your life story?
Hell no.
So they can make as many movies, books, TV shows as they want?
I can guarantee you the studio or whomever
got a lot more money from it.
Oh, yeah. That was a ripoff.
Yeah. And then he had a small role as an umpire in another film. And his story does eventually hit the silver screen in 1951. There is a film called Jim Thorpe, All-American, with actor Burt Lancaster playing Thorpe. Thorpe was not paid any royalties, of course, for the film. But he was able to negotiate a $2,500 annuity fund. Which I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But basically an annuity is like you put up money up front and then you get like trailing payments for like a determined amount of time, usually in perpetuity.
Okay. So that's what he was able to get. Definitely not enough.
Yeah. They're not typically the greatest investments.
Mm-hmm. In addition to his career in film, Thorpe also worked as a construction worker, a bouncer, a doorman, a security guard, and a ditch digger.
Oh my God, literally a ditch digger?
The greatest athlete in the world.
Oh, man, I really wish this guy had like better representation or something.
Yeah, I don't think he had a lot of good advisors in his life, it seems, when it came at least to finances in his career. Because that is something, particularly then, access to that kind of knowledge is so limited. You do need someone who already understands the game to come and guide you. And he obviously didn't have that coming from such a low-income background.
Right. And it makes a lot of sense, too, because this type of work wasn't really well paid at this time, right?
You're right.
We look at we look at the NFL players today and they make ungodly amounts of money. But that wasn't the case back then. It was, you usually had like a real job, quote unquote. And then this was like your side hustle.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It's definitely changed a lot.
Yeah.
During World War II, Thorpe then joined the Merchant Marines.
Oh my God. I was wondering what he was doing during that time.
So he's also a veteran. During his later years, Thorpe does struggle with alcoholism, which I think makes a lot of sense given the early childhood trauma that he had and then the immense struggles during the Great Depression. We turned to alcohol to numb a lot of pain. So I share that out of non-judgment. I'm a therapist. You all know this. I don't drink. I grew up in a bar. I get it. But it is such a disease that just takes from you. It just takes and takes and takes. And that happens, unfortunately, to Jim Thorpe. He totally runs out of money.
Oh my God.
By the early 1950s. And he is, in 1951, admitted to a hospital as a charity case because he is diagnosed with lip cancer.
Can this guy get a break?
I know.
Jeez.
His wife, Patricia, this is his
The third
third
one.
wife,
Yeah.
told the press following the procedure, because people were like, oh, Jim Thorpe's a charity case in the hospital. Like, let's go bug his wife about it.
Oh my God.
She said, quote, "We're broke. Jim has nothing but his name and his memories. He has spent money on his people and has given it away. He has often been exploited." Which, I don't know this woman, but I kind of wish she hadn't said he has nothing but his name and his memories. Sounded kind of harsh. But it does sound like he was generous. And it sounds like when he did have money, he gave it to others.
And it...
I know.
Oh God, I don't think we've ever done an episode on someone where I've just had this big of an urge to go back in time and be like, no, man, I'm going to help you. Just listen to me. I got you.
Same.
Like, you're an icon. Let me just help, bro.
You focus on being an icon.
Yeah, I can help with the finances. I can help with getting you what you need.
I could help with the therapy.
Yeah, that would probably help.
Wow, we should go back in time.
We'd be incredible team here.
There we go. Yeah. So unfortunately, we are coming to the end of his life because he goes into heart failure for the third time in 1953. He's briefly revived afterwards and is able to speak to those around him. But he loses consciousness again, and he dies on March 28th at the age of 65.
Oh, that's terrible.
March 28th, 1953, just to be clear. The Times obituary recognized him as, quote, "probably the greatest natural athlete the world has ever seen in modern times."
I'd say that's accurate.
Mm-hmm. So then there's some controversy that comes after his death.
Oh boy.
So, saying that she was afraid that Thorpe would be buried as a pauper, his wife, his third wife, Patricia, decided to have Thorpe's remains sent by train to Pennsylvania. She heard that there were two small towns looking for ways to bring more money and tourism in, so she sold Jim Thorpe's body to them. Oof. I know. Again, I don't know this lady.
I don't judge also, to be fair.
But that's rough.
They have 4 kids together also.
No, they don't. I don't think these have any kids together.
Oh, the third wife. That's right.
Jim had 8 kids.
My God. But maybe that's why he ran out of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he took care of his family.
Yeah.
The two towns then decide to merge together, and they rename themselves as one town, which still exists today. It is Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God, it's just named after him.
And they erect multiple statues in his honor, although Jim Thorpe never went to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania while he was alive.
His body did.
But his body did. In 2010, Thorpe's son, Jack, filed a federal lawsuit with the town to have his father's remains brought back to Oklahoma and interred with the rest of his family. Jack's lawsuit cited, this is a law that I wasn't aware of, that Native American graves are protected and Native Americans are allowed to be transported to be buried on Native land.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's called the Native American Graves Protection and Reparation Act.
It's probably a good thing that exists.
Yes, and he claimed that his stepmother decided to sell Jim Thorpe's body without consulting any other family members, and none of the other family members would have consented. They were all on the same page as Jack, and they wanted Thorpe to be buried on Native American soil, which is where he was born. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you know why it took so long for that lawsuit to be filed?
No.
That's interesting.
Unfortunately, Jack Thorpe, his son, passes away in 2011.
Oh my God.
And then in April 2013, the U.S. District Judge Richard Caputo declared that Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, was a museum and therefore was protected under the same act because an exception to that act of Native American being buried on Native soil is museums.
I see.
So he said, oh, the whole town's a museum. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it kind of sounds a little shady.
Yes. And then in October of 2014, the U.S. Court of Appeals overturns the ruling, saying there's no way the town is a museum.
Yeah.
Like the whole town?
Yeah, like I can understand like a building or two or even a few buildings, right? But not a whole town.
So the fight continues, and then after several months of back and forth between the Thorpe family and the city of Jim Thorpe and the federal U.S. government, the U.S. Supreme Court makes a decision in October of 2015 that they are like, we're not even going to hear this case, effectively ending all attempts to relocate his remains. So his remains are still in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
I don't agree with that.
That's weird because I feel like the appellate court overturned the original decision. So that was like the last decision made. So why wouldn't it just go?
I don't know. If you want to look into the specifics of the case more, you can, but...
Yeah, I'm not. But
I didn't think that was important.
No, it's not.
The end result is the same, you know?
So Jim Thorpe is staying in Jim Thorpe.
Yes. I looked up the town. It is like a tourist town. It's really beautiful. They have really I don't know, almost like Disneyland vibes. Like everything's very quaint and manicured. There's like a train that goes through town.
Oh, maybe it is like a museum a little bit.
Maybe. Apparently, a lot of folks go there like on the East Coast and the New England states. It's like a really common place to go for like a weekend trip and stuff like that. If anyone's been to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, let us know.
Let us know.
So Thorpe's legacy, despite all of this, despite a tragic ending, continued to grow. Posthumous honors and recognition highlighted his remarkable athletic achievements and his cultural significance. We're going to go through some of those here. There's a long list, and these are just some. I cut out a bunch. So one, there's a monument in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania to him, obviously, and it features the quote that King Gustav V said. So there's the monument, and it says, in quotes, "You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world."
Thanks, King.
Thanks, King. The monument stands on soil brought from Oklahoma and brought from the Olympic Stadium where he won his medals. So they took soil from his home and they took soil from Sweden and mixed it, and they put the monument on there, which I think is pretty cool.
That is really cool, yeah.
ESPN has also listed Thorpe as 7th on their list of the greatest North American athletes of the century.
I could see that.
Thorpe was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. As a member of the charter class of inductees, there is a larger-than-life statue of him in the Hall of Fame's rotunda.
Oh, that's dope.
He has been inducted into many halls of fame, I guess, including for college football, for American Olympic teams, for track and field competitions. You go to an athletic hall of fame, he's probably there.
Yeah. I mean, I remember learning about Jim Thorpe even like in 3rd grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because he was such an like iconic figure of sports history, like American sports history.
Yeah, I don't remember when I learned about him, but I feel like I've known his name almost my whole life, so maybe around the same age. In 2018, Thorpe became one of the inductees in the first induction ceremony held by the National Native American Hall of Fame. There's a fitness center and a hall there at Haskell Indian Nations University that is also named in honor of him. And then, see, I told you there was a lot. In 1973, President Nixon declared April 16th Jim Thorpe Day.
I didn't know that. We need to celebrate next year.
Put it on your calendars, weirdos.
Yeah, April 16th. We'll do something.
We'll all go for a jog, but not me.
Not you. I know. You and he couldn't be opposite in that regard, or couldn't be more opposite.
But I think we would have been friends.
Yeah, you guys would have.
He'd be like, what's it like to be so sedentary? I can't imagine being so unathletic and uncoordinated.
Like, imagine you, Jim Thorpe, and Duke Hanamoku, and you guys are all just like in a room. Like, Jim Thorpe's like, I am land. Duke Hanamoku is, I am sea. And you're like, I am couch.
I am couch. I'm going to get a hat that says I am couch. It also goes well with being a therapist.
Yeah, there you go.
So then in 1986, the Jim Thorpe Foundation established the Jim Thorpe Award, which is given annually to the best defensive back in college football.
Oh my God, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
The Thorpe Cup is an annual international meeting for pentathlon and decathlon competitors. And in 1998, the USPS honored him with a stamp to celebrate him as one of the most iconic figures of the century.
We got to get some Jim Thorpe stamps.
Oh my God, that'd be so cute.
We don't ever mail things, but when we do,
we'll start mailing them when we have the stamps.
There we go.
And I promise I'm almost done, you guys. There's just a couple more of his honors. A 2000 poll of sports fans taken by ABC Sports found that Jim Thorpe was considered the greatest athlete of the 20th century by just like the everyday people.
I mean, if you compare him to his peers at the time, there's no one more dominant.
Well, in the poll that ABC did, he was picked above other athletes that were listed like Muhammad Ali, Jesse Owens, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. He won. He beat out those guys.
All of those guys are also iconic.
Yeah. And lastly, Thorpe was posthumously honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom this year.
Oh my God, in 2024?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Isn't
really
that
cool. That's so cool.
So I'm going to end this on a happy note.
Thank God.
In 1982, the IOC, which is...
The International Olympic Committee.
Yes. They granted him the title of co-champion for his events that he had won, but they never officially amended the record, giving him back his medals. So then in 2020, a nonprofit named Bright Path Strong. If you remember, his Native American name means Bright Path, so it is a nonprofit in his honor. Bright Path Strong petitioned the IOC to reinstate Thorpe as the sole winner of his gold medals. Bright Path Strong and the IOC did a big investigation on this. That included consulting the family of the Swedish athlete Hugo Weislander. He had received the decathlon gold that had belonged to Thorpe. Per the statement of the Weislander family, they said that he had, quote, always been of the opinion that Jim Thorpe was the sole legitimate Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, that guy's a true athlete, because I think no athlete wants to win off of like, oh, this guy.
He played semi-pro baseball, so you actually won.
Yeah, it's not like he was doing steroids, right? It's that was such a dumb thing. Like a true athlete would be like, no, that guy deserves it.
Mm-hmm. So thanks to the hard work and the collaboration of this nonprofit, Jim Thorpe is once again recognized by the International Olympic Committee as the sole gold medal winner of the 1912 Olympic pentathlon and decathlon.
It only took him like a little over 100 years. Mm-hmm. What's 100 years between friends?
Well, actually, Nedra Darling is the co-founder of this nonprofit, and she shared, quote, "We are so grateful this nearly 110-year-old injustice has finally been corrected, and there is no confusion about the most remarkable athlete in history."
Wow, that's a statement right there.
That was thug. Today, Jim Thorpe is remembered as an extraordinary athlete and a symbol of resilience, as I mentioned, and overcoming adversity to achieve great things. The end.
God, that's beautiful.
It's quite a story, right?
That's such, you know what? It stinks because he wasn't alive to see all these things come back to him. And he wasn't alive to see, oh yeah, by the way, even decades after your death, half a century after your death, we are still saying you're the greatest American athlete, at the very least, of all time.
Yes. I mean, it's just so sad that obviously the Great Depression affected him a lot. And then there's freaking World War II. And then after World War II, I didn't even think about that with considering his substance use. He had been in the war. Like, he went through so much pain, struggled with alcoholism, and then dies. Like, and it's only after that everyone starts being like, wait, this was, unfair. Let's give these things back to him. And he gets so many honors and recognitions. People loved him in his time, don't get me wrong, but I do wish he had seen justice while he was alive.
Yeah, I agree. And also, as much as people maybe loved him during his time, people love a martyr more.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
Right, mic drop. Except they're on stand, so I can't even drop the mic.
You all, there was so many references that Felicia found, and then I found a few more because I was curious about some things. We're going to put all of those in the show notes. It's a lot. So if you were interested in this story at all, you could do a deep dive and check those out. But I personally really loved learning about Jim Thorpe. I am not someone that is interested in sports, typically.
No, that's true. You're not.
So, Andrew, you were surprised when I told you I was going to do this story.
I was really surprised, guys. I can't overstate how Stephanie's just not interested in sports. I mean, really, there's a few exceptions here and there. You'll care about basketball every blue moon, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's because the Lakers were so good when we were kids.
Yeah. So, we grew up in the Kobe Bryant era. Mm-hmm. So that's like ingrained into our psyche. But besides that, and you do like the Dodgers, like if they're doing well.
Oh, no. I like Dodger dogs.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I apologize. That is correct. Stephanie does not like the Dodgers. She likes Dodger dogs.
Yeah.
They are good. I'll give you that.
I like going to Dodger games to eat Dodger dogs, have like a giant lemonade, eat some popcorn, get like those Dippin' Dots, and then go home before the game's over.
Yeah, so we beat the traffic. Yeah, that's fair enough. We did like sitting in those outfield seats at Dodger Stadium like years ago. Oh my God, they're so rowdy. If you're not a Dodgers fan, I do not recommend sitting there.
No.
Like if you're the fan of the opposing team, do not sit there. But if you are a Dodger fan, it's a great time.
It is fun. I had never sat there before.
They just yell insults at like the other players, like the other team's players, but they're like funny insults. Yeah. They're like I don't know, it's like, your mom hates you or something. Actually, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's not funny.
You went for like the darkest thing.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute. That was one comment. No.
It's just kind of like old school, like, boo, you stink, number 43.
Yeah, or like, you like stale beer.
Yeah, silly stuff like that. And all the players, I think, kind of get into it. They laugh. They're not offended. So I like watching the Lakers when they're good.
Yeah, that's about it.
And then I like eating at Dodger Stadium while there's a game going on in the background.
Like I said, guys, Stephanie has her priorities straight.
But I will say this gave me so much appreciation for Jim Thorpe. I just think the level of natural talent is incredible, unheard of. And then to have faced such bullshit with getting your medals stripped of you and to have taken it with such class and dignity and been like, I'm not going to let that bother me. That to me is like, wow, you're a superhuman.
You are. He absolutely was. And the fact that not only did he do that, but he was like he was just so good. I feel like he was almost an artist of being athletic, if that makes any sense.
You know, there are people, apparently this was the case for my grandfather on my mom's side, my abuelito Chano. He could pick up any instrument and start playing it. Allegedly, I'd never met him, but his family was very into music. And I know there are people like that who like hear a language and they can pick it up quickly. They could play an instrument and pick it up quickly. That was him with sports. He just had to watch it and be like, oh, I could do that.
I'm so jealous. I'm not that good at literally anything, not even close to that good at anything in my life.
You're that good at being Perry's dad.
Oh, that's so sweet. It like stings.
Well, weirdos, we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Let us know in the comments on Spotify or over on Instagram at History For Weirdos. Do you think he's the greatest athlete of all time? If not, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. You could also, you could tell us who you think is the greatest athlete of all time.
Oh my God, it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
We're all wrong sometimes.
Oh man, that's too good. Yeah, but seriously, weirdos, let us know what you guys think. I personally, I do think because you have to compare with peers, and he was so insanely dominant. There's no one even within his realm. So to me, I feel like he has to be.
Yeah.
Like he was more dominant than Michael Jordan was against other basketball players in his era. Right. And like Jim Thorpe played a bunch of different sports. And he was dominant in them all. Like that's an athlete right there.
That's the thing, is it's not even like, yeah, he was such an amazing football player. He was such an amazing... No, he was amazing at everything.
Yeah. And remember, guys, Michael Jordan was an average baseball player.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm not like, I love Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I want to be very
does.
clear here. Yeah, I love Michael Jordan. He was like my early childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of reverence for him. And I do think he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. But I don't think he holds a candle to Jim Thorpe.
Yeah. So let us know, weirdos. Let us know what you think. Thank you, as always, for listening to this episode. And
until next time, weirdos.
Until next time.
Adios.